and Cultural Arts Center. Next slide, please. For those that can't hear me, you can hear me. Simulcast. Next slide, please. Thank you. Just to ensure we're all on the same page on location and character of the site, approximately 93 acres, as you can see, located just off of I-95 in the corner with Route 234 to the north. Next slide, please. Thank you. In the actual zoning ordinance provisions for the zoning change, for the rezoning would be as defined, planning mixed-use district, and the goals within that district are as follows: promoting efficient use of the land. And I won't read each one of these, but just a quick overview of the intent of this, to promote the efficient use of land, allowing compatible mixed uses on a single parcel or group of parcels, as you can see, obtain design flexibility consistent with the vision for Main Street, to ensure efficient traffic, and I would say transportation circulation, all modes of transportation, preservation of sensitive environmental and historical features were present, and then certainly to ensure compatibility with the development with surrounding properties. Next slide, please. So just as we review the site together, there are two land bays, which shown in green is proposed park of 80 acres, and in red is the mixed use development of approximately 13 acres. That also includes structured parking. Next slide, please. Yeah, and within, just zooming into the mixed use development, the red area, you can see the variety of uses that are proposed and shown on the master zoning plan, the plan set that has been provided to you. Just quickly, you can see the gaming facility itself, cultural arts center, restaurants, and then the structured parking. Next slide, please. This zooms in a bit better, hopefully legible to each of you, where the hotel is located. And just point of reference, this has been shifted, so the north is to the right and I-95 is on top. Okay, so the hotel would be along I-95, and then rotating clockwise, you see the parking structure, the gaming facility actually in the center of that land bay, and then top left, the cultural arts center, entertainment area. Next slide, please. In reviewing this application, certainly we looked at a number of factors, but here's the list that we focused closest on, but not inclusive of everything that we looked at. The traffic impacts, noise, lighting, environmental, the landfill closure itself, and then security and safety for the site in the surrounding area. Next slide, please. Starting with traffic, next slide. We looked at with the three areas: on-site in the plan set, the plan reviews itself, the site access, as well as an off-site traffic impact study. So those are the three areas within the transportation impacts that were assessed. Next slide, please. So within those, it's a plan set review, as you know, for the on-site, looking at circulation, on-site, parking and loading docks primarily. For site access, it's in this case, it's a change in access to the site, closing Green Tree to be gated, but also for emergency egress particularly, but then a new access point on Main Street via an expanded redesigned Colonial Street. And then finally off-site, this is all in collaboration with VDOT, as you know, and following the VDOT process. So there we looked at three timeframes: 2000 existing conditions at opening 2023, year 2025, and then a future 2031 traffic conditions. And embedded within that certainly is the change of Main Street itself with the new redevelopment project. Next slide, please. Yeah, just quickly zooming into the on-site. Next slide, please. We looked at, for example, directly from the plan set, the circulation patterns. So you can see the access and the circulation flow, as well as the egress. And just, again, we're not at site plan level, but just at this as best available information, looking and ensuring that we're setting the table for the site plan review. Next slide, please. Yeah, within the access, and next slide, please. Looked at an evaluation of the new access point on Main Street in the short term with existing street conditions and the capacity needs and the flow of traffic with regard to access and egress, potential signal at that location, and need to understand how that will operate with all new redevelopment in that area during that time frame, as well as the future conditions. And those are two big changes, right? Where we have now the orientation, very much a traffic-oriented situation today, and how that will change to your vision for the Main Street to be more walkable. So we're very sensitive, we being the town and VDOT, in understanding how that will evolve, how to measure success over both scenarios. And in the long term, wanting to ensure that the traffic works from our perspective in VDOT's, but also that it's not only traffic in the long term, that your vision for a more walkable Main Street is achieved with the final design. Next slide, please. Yeah, and then just moving to pure offsite analysis. And you saw by the weight of the traffic impact study that through us and the VDOT analysis, there was quite a number of intersections and analysis put into those different timeframes. So if we can go to the next slide, without going through all, 900 pages of the traffic impact study, which were needed, they did follow all processes that are outlined with VDOT, approved by VDOT and the town. And the aerial image to the left are the intersections, better seen in the staff report, but the intersections that were looked at by the applicant and reviewed by us off-site. Next slide, please. The next two mitigating factors really get to a site plan review, but we wanted to work and review to best of our abilities at the rezoning level. So next slide, please. Actually, I think it skipped one. I can cover it. There you go. As we looked at noise and the potential for noise impacts, there are mandates within and agreed to and proffers to certainly abide by the noise ordinances, but at the site plan level, look when we have more detail at how that will operate, where the potential noise could come from. And then at the site plan level, you can get specific to mitigation measures, not as much in the rezoning aspect of this. And similarly with the lighting, really talking about the type of lighting fixtures that we want to maximize safety, but minimize the impact on the surrounding communities. And so what we are recommending is dark sky friendly fixtures as shown in that image, right in the center of that slide, where the light is shed down. And that gets to the spacing to ensure safety, but it also controls the uplight, which is important for the surrounding communities and the safety along I-95. Next slide, please. Another very important issue is the environment and the landfill closure. So next slide, please. The bottom line is, just as we are looking through this, first things first, the applicant from an environment standpoint is offering to develop an 80-acre public park as part of this, this process, this rezoning. Also proffering to obtain all the necessary approvals from the Commonwealth as we monitor, but those are Commonwealth approvals on the safety closure of the landfill. And then a monitoring for a period of 10 years, as you can see, following the closure and capping until terminated, that approval through that period by DEQ, by the Commonwealth. And then certainly all reasonable acts, the applicant will take all reasonable actions to mitigate the impacts during that 10-year period. And then even following the 10-year dedication, the applicant, I just want to read this to be sure we're on the same page, continue the post-closure care, maintain environmental liability for the park for another 5 years. All outlined in conditions and in the proffers. The next slide, please. Yeah, which leaves finally the safety and security of the site in the vicinity. Next slide, please. Yeah, and with that in mind, the applicant is proposing as part of the site and an existing building to dedicate space for police outpost. So for town police to be on site. And also in parallel to that is a security plan that we'll be working on together to address on-site and vicinity off-site safety concerns. So those two things are very important to work together on. Next slide, please. Yeah, and finally, as you saw in the staff report, there's a request for a building height waiver specifically for the hotel from what's allowed of 60 feet in the waiver to 200 feet, more in the realm of hotel size and mixed use development, but a waiver from, and thus is requested by the applicant to the town council for that waiver. And this shows just a reminder that the hotel is shown on the westernmost side, which is the top of that image along 95. Next slide. So I won't read each line of this to you, but I did highlight the proposed development conditions, and those are outlined in your staff report. And just as you can see in summary, it works between the proffers and the conditions, these conditions for approval from a town perspective, the proffers that are offered by the applicant that the applicant can review, and then an agreement, which is an attachment to the proffers, which would be the operational type things that move on beyond this initial approval to ensure, particularly from a public works and police perspective, that there's ongoing partnership and understanding on the important details on how a park in the site operates. Next slide, please. And with that, our staff recommendation is for you to recommend approval to the town council as shown here and shown in the staff report for acceptance of the proffers, the development conditions associated with NZP, and then finally the waiver that I just outlined for height. So Mr. Chairman, with that, pass it back to you, and the applicant is here if you'd like a short presentation from them as well.
From the applicant. So with that, I'd like to ask for the applicant to come up for their presentation.
Representatives from my client, Colonial Downs. I've got Aaron Gomes, our COO, Stephen Huba, our Chief Development Officer, and Lisa Speller over there in charge of public relations. So Larry did a very comprehensive and thoughtful overview of the project, and I won't repeat his presentation, but if you could advance the slide, please. I think the most salient point is that CDG, my applicant, is offering to transform the existing landfill into a vibrant mixed-use development with gaming, concerts, special events, a range of dining establishments, and most importantly, an 80-acre park designed by and for the community. Can you please advance the slide? And one more. Thank you. As the park is this significant amenity for the town, I just want to touch on a few key points so you can understand what we're doing from conception to realization. First and foremost on the scale, as Larry said, there's two land bays here. Land bay 1, which is the development site, and it's 13 of the 93 acres. The balance of the site, 80 plus acres, is what we are proposing to build as a public park for the community. The design, the park is intended to be designed in partnership with the community. So following the town council's approval of the rezoning and the CUP, if they indicate that they're willing to do that, we're going to initiate a series of charrettes with the community, invite the community to participate and let us know what facilities and amenities they want to see here. Once we have that feedback, we have proffered to provide a detailed landscape plan with the site plan for the very first phase that incorporates the community's feedback and shows the park elements and features that they've requested. As Larry said, we agreed in the proffers to enter into a memorandum of understanding, or MOU, at the time of site plan. And we've attached to the proffers a list of fundamental terms that we've already agreed to that reflect the Department of Public Works and the town's biggest concerns. And that list of issues or term sheet is attached to the proffers as Exhibit A. Critically is the delivery of the park. We have proffered to deliver the park concurrent with the gaming facility in the very first phase of the project. So the two will come online together. And it's worth noting that phase 1 also includes several restaurants, up to 155 hotel rooms, convention center space, and the parking structure. Last, most importantly about the park is the maintenance and the dedication. We will maintain the CDG park and its facilities for a period of 10 years, after which we will dedicate it to the town. Okay, please advance the slide. And that's more images on the public park. To the extent that you would like to provide your feedback, we will have a website for that purpose. But again, we'll initiate the series of charrettes and we will invite you to that. Can you advance the next slide, please? So as you all know, the property is currently developed with an existing landfill. It's really important to note that the current use is as a recycling facility and a landfill for construction and demolition debris. It is not used for asbestos, air conditioners, refrigerators, or appliances with refrigerant, contaminated soils, barrels, drums, chemicals, or anything toxic. The closure plan. As part of our initial work for phase 1, we're going to cap and close the initial landfill in accordance with all Department of Environmental Quality regulations. We also have what we call a post-closure care plan, or PCC plan. It's a very detailed plan. The experts are definitely in charge of it, but we should know that the focus of it is stated as being ensuring the protection of human health and the environment. Monitoring. We will monitor the landfill in accordance with DEQ requirements and town standards for 10 years following its closure or capping, or until DEQ or PCC is terminated by DEQ, whichever is last. So if we agree to monitor for 10 years, but DEQ doesn't think it's ready and wants us to continue monitoring, we'll continue monitoring. After that, we'll take another 5 years to monitor for environmental purposes. Next slide, please. I also wanted to touch on the transportation improvements that we're proffering. First and foremost, you should know that we retained 2 of the region's most esteemed transportation experts who are here with us tonight to complete a comprehensive traffic impact analysis, or TIA, that ultimately, after a number of discussions and concessions, resulted in a package of on and off-site transportation improvements that will fully mitigate the impacts of our development to the town and the state's satisfaction, as demonstrated in the recommendation of approval by the town staff and approval of the TIA by the state. Note that all of these commitments are memorialized in the proffers. I'll run through them very quickly. On site, Larry talked about Colonial Street. We're going to reconstruct Colonial Street as the new main entrance and exit to the property from Main Street. It's going to have 2 inbound and 2 outbound lanes. There'll be 8-foot sidewalks and a 6.5-foot buffer between the sidewalks and the travel lanes on both sides. We're also going to install a traffic signal at the intersection of Colonial and Main. Also, we'll construct a right turn lane at Colonial and Main Street if it's needed. We've currently submitted a waiver. I think we're waiting on approval of that waiver, but we have in our proffers, if the waiver is not approved, that we'll construct the turn lane. We're also going to reevaluate it at phase 2. And again, we'll construct the turn lane if it's needed at that time. We're also going to reconstruct Canal as a one-way westbound left turn lane between Main Street and Fraley Boulevard. And we're going to extend the northbound left turn lane and restripe the southbound left turn lane on Fraley Boulevard from Possum Point Road, east of Main Street to Canal Road. Last, as offsite improvements, we're going to construct intersections at Route 1 and Route 234. And we're either going to do that in the northeast or the southeast quadrant, depending on where the Potomac Shores project is at the time that we're ready to advance our project. But we are committed and we have proffered to construct those intersection improvements. Please, next slide. So CDG has a proven track record already as a solid corporate citizen in Dumfries. And we're going to bring an additional 1,500 jobs to the area, resulting in $11 million annually in tax revenue for the town and $7 million for the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to have staff questions before we open it up for public testimony. I'll start with Commissioner Diaz. Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Commissioner Borka, any questions?
No questions at this time.
Commissioner Beisel,
No questions at this time.
Commissioner Nickerson.
No questions right now.
Actually, I have a few questions, and I'm not sure if they are directed towards staff or towards the applicant. But one of the questions that was presented from a landowner via email are Nasim Arshad. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing that, but it was related to stormwater management and related erosion. Can you guys talk about that a little bit for us? As far as with the construction.
To come up and address those. Janae, pass it to you.
Good evening. My name is Janae Prevost-White. I'm the Director of Public Works for the town of Dumfries. I preliminarily had a conversation with the applicant's engineer concerning erosion and sediment control. At this time, it's really too early to tell what will be entailed, but the applicant has been given a very detailed checklist as to what is required to meet local, state, and federal guidelines for the site, as far as stormwater management and erosion and sediment control, chest bay, and floodplain.
Thank you for that. Another question I had as far as the traffic impact analysis, I did take a look at that. And do we have timelines for phase 1 and phase 2 when they're going to start? And as far as the Colonial Street intersection, what it didn't talk about the level of service for the vehicles that are going to be queuing at that intersection, since there is a light right there already at Possum Point, in the proximity of that light to was that Colonial Street?
Yes, maybe best to have the traffic consultant for the applicant answer those questions. I'm happy to support those as well.
Good evening, Chad Baird with Grove Slade. I might need you to repeat those questions, but I think I know both of them. So the timing of the transportation improvements, all of the offsite transportation improvements have to be completed prior to our phase 1 opening. That was an agreement between the town, the applicant, and VDOT. So the Route 1 and 234 intersection, that all has to be done prior to opening of the first occupancy. 2023 is the timeline, approximately that time frame. Now, your second question is about the queuing from Colonial going southbound on Main Street.
Yes.
So we looked at that extensively. We simulated it all, the queuing that with the mitigation that we're proposing. So the turn lanes, the signal timing adjustments, we had to make sure, and VDOT specifically looked at this to make sure that we're not backing up into Possum Point and then further backing up. So we had to look at that specifically. We're not spilling back based on the signal timing and the mitigation that we're proposing at Colonial as well as Possum Point.
Okay. All right. And last question I have is the construction impacts to the residents of Grayson Village and Tripoli Heights. Do we know how it's going to impact those residents?
Construction.
Yeah, the good question. That's the type of issue that we will address at site plan. don't have the level of detail yet at rezoning.
Thank you.
Yeah, applicant is saying they will do a construction management plan at the time of site plan.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Now it's time for public testimony. Anyone wants to speak, we ask that you speak at the lectern there. We have any want to speak? Before you speak, we ask that you give your name and your address before your public testimony. Thank you.
Good evening, planning commissioners. My name is O'Kelly Russell. I live at Tripoli Boulevard. My address is on record. I've lived there since July 4th, 2000, and I've seen everything at that dump. And I'm very concerned about the Rosie Casino application that is under consideration. The application is very vague in details. It does not seem to take into consideration the town residents and the adjacent residential neighborhoods needs or concerns. Yes, we've seen a lot of pretty pictures and promises have been made, but what of the details are to make the concept work? I realize the applicant has said at site plan. However, what is in this application is what will be required, and anything else will be negotiated. I'm concerned about the interior circulation routes that go right behind Tripoli Heights and Grayson Village. I'm concerned about the 5 to 7 story parking garage that the applicant says is a buffer to the residents. However, with a parking garage, you have noise from tires squealing, you have smells of the exhaust. You also have lighting. Yes, they say that they're going to be in compliance with night skies, zero light night skies. However, it's not all exterior lights. It's only certain interior lights. I'm concerned because adjacent property owners and neighbors, have they been contacted directly? Has it been certified mail? When I've talked to my neighbors, a lot of them don't know what's going on. This is the only second public hearing that I know of. I know that the applicant has provided 2 online showing what's going to be done. However, public input was not on record. Overall, where are the checks and balances? Is the town reviewing the plan for completeness and a good design that helps our community, or is the town just approving a plan that helps the developer? This application and design is incomplete and needs to be corrected. Please do what's best for the town of Dumfries and its residents. Please do the due diligence required for this project and for the town residents of this town. The time is on the side of the town and this body, not the applicant. Please use that time. Please review this application. It is incomplete. They've shown graphics here tonight that are not part of the application. They're proposing a 15-foot buffer around the entire property. That's it. If you look at the Prince William County DCSM, those design standards say that between a residence and a commercial, you have to have at least 30 feet of buffer. And the code that they cite in the plan, it just says it needs to be a buffer that's opaque and dense. Doesn't talk about how much vegetation there is, doesn't talk about any fencing, what type of fencing. So I please, again, ask you to please review this application completely. I know our staff has done a good job, but I ask as planning commissioners, before you approve this to go forward, that you look at this application thoroughly and completely. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else?
Good evening, commissioners. How's everyone? My name is Ebony Lofton. I live on Milroy Drive in Dumfries. And as I brought with me last week or week before, this is a sign I have posted in my yard asking the town council to vote no for the casino. I'm going to ask that same thing for you as commissioners. While you all may be inclined to approve, I agree with Mr. O'Kelly Russell in that time is on our side. I work in commercial financing, and I have had the pleasure of being a part of several development deals. If anyone knows, I'm sure they do, you have cost overruns, you have change orders, you have subcontractors. This town could really design something that benefits not only its residents, but for example, you could set a requirement that their subcontractors above, say, 50,000, 100,000, or I'll say a percentage of their subcontractors are minority business enterprises, so that we're ensuring that those who may not have opportunities to be a part of a project like this can. The traffic is understated. Anybody who's ever been on Route 1, I was headed to work at 7:30 in the morning and a SUV hit a compact car, and it was 45 minutes of my life and a quarter of a mile past Wawa. That wasn't even in Dumfries. The notion by some who believe that this is only a Dumfries issue and that only the town of Dumfries should have a decision is asinine, quite frankly, because anybody that visits this establishment might want to go to Potomac Mills, or the people in Stafford may be wondering what's going on with the traffic. Crime rates that people don't talk about are real in the town of Dumfries. Just weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, unfortunately, a 15-year-old boy was shot and subsequently died. You don't hear about those things. So the other part I wanted to mention, and I could be slightly wrong, but under the Freedom of Information Act, anyone can get this information, but the 10 years that they're talking about in mitigating the landfill is because that's the recommendation of the DEQ. There have been some violations. There was batteries found buried at that land site that was in violation, and they were required to mitigate that, and they had to work and correct it. That was as recent as December. The other thing that a lot of people don't talk about, and I know it's a little scary, but human trafficking, drug trafficking, lighting, as you said. My goodness, the Two Guys Antiques has been here for almost 20 years. And nobody knew that it's already been purchased, that turn lane is already there. I wonder why nobody said anything. I wonder why we don't know those things. Did anybody know when they came in February to provide this, pretty much this same presentation, and then they didn't come in June when they planned? Well, that was because there were some issues with VDOT, and not the town council, not anyone provided this information to the town. There's a reason why this project isn't being proposed in Alexandria. There's a reason why it's not being proposed in Falls Church and Fairfax County, because the town of Dumfries, unfortunately, doesn't have as many citizens who come and speak up and speak out against things that aren't right for the town. We don't have the right infrastructure. There's a reason why the Route 1 widening project has been handed to Prince William County. The town of Dumfries does not have the staff to handle this project, let alone the ability to make its decisions on its own. I think that more time is needed. And quite frankly, I don't support it because I don't think it's right for this community. Thank you so much for your service and for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Next citizen.
Hi, I'm John Long. I've been living in this area for about 23 years. And I've been to the facility several times. I'm a retired program manager, certified acquisition, and et cetera. I have watched this facility over the last 6 or 7 months, been in and out. I've noticed their health and safety requirement. I noticed their security requirement. I noticed their facility concern. If they apply the same quality inspection, quality approach that they're using in this current facility to the new facility, the town of Dumfries shouldn't have any problem. Yes, every facility that you build, you're going to have a traffic problem. I'm also a retired military police officer. You're going to have traffic problems. That has to be worked. You're going to have concern about environmental issues. That has to be worked out with the construction effort here, but it's not unattainable. My recommendation is that you continue to move forward, give this community an opportunity to do something. I'm 73 years old. I enjoy going over there. The climate is good. The people are good. So it's something that would help the community, especially with people that are senior citizens, that sometimes you get tired, don't have anything else to do in the daytime. So I think it's a great enhancement to the community. And I look forward to the opportunity to you having the facility. Pray that God allow me to live long enough to see it. But I hope to see it in 3 or 4 years. I think it would be a great asset for the community. I've been down there 23 years and I haven't seen anything of such magnitude provided to this community. So I reward the council and the people that are involved for even considering that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next citizen.
Hi, my name is Chris Noe, and I live about 6 miles. My address is on file on the sign-in sheet. And I live about 6 miles from where this is proposed, but I live on the county side, so I don't live on the town side. That doesn't mean that it's not going to affect the quality of life of people who happen to live on the other side of the border. I left my house at 6:30 tonight, and I wasn't sure I was going to make it here. Okay, that's 6 miles on 234, and I wasn't sure I was gonna make it already before this is proposed. According to the traffic analysis, it's going to bring an additional 24,000 car trips a week to our already overcrowded roads. The interchange at Route 1 and 234 that is tied to the Potomac Shores development has been on the books for over 8 years, and there's no start date. So saying that that's going to be one of the mitigating factors, I might as well say that flying cars are also going to be a mitigating factor because those might arrive at the same time. There have been $80 million worth of taxpayer funds dedicated to fixing Route 1 going through the town. That is not scheduled to be complete until 2024, but this development has the potential to fill up all of those new lanes that we're building before any of the residents who paid for them get to use them. Also, the VDOT traffic analysis talks about the fact that the Williams Ordinary, which is one of the oldest buildings in Prince William County, will have to have land taken from it, and it will require another special use permit from VDOT in order to accommodate Colonial Street. So we're trading in our history for some new turn lanes. The language in the plan, the 980-page plan that was only released to the public last week, says that the Colonial Downs will do its best to acquire the land necessary for all of their traffic mitigations. But it says right in the application that if they can't, they are going to rely on the town to condemn citizens' property so that they can build their turn lanes. So they're going to turn the town into the heavy to take the town's own citizens' land. There are just so many questions that the public still has about this application. And it is your responsibility as planning commissioners to do your due diligence. So please defer this decision. You don't have to send it to the town council next week. There is time. There's time to talk to citizens. There's time to get answers to these questions that citizens have. So I'm asking you, please defer this decision, do your due diligence, and look into all of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next citizen, please.
Good evening. I'm Judy Moore. I'm with the Boys and Girls Club here in the town of Dumfries. I've heard for years, I've worked at this club for almost 20 years, but I have heard for years from the town council that they want to make Dumfries a place where people come and not just a place where people drive through. And this project that's being proposed tonight would lead to that. People would come here and they would spend their money here, and they would that would increase the tax revenue and such for this town. Rosie's has partnered with different organizations in the town. They are a community organization, and they support the the organizations within the community. And that's another reason that I am in favor of this. And then just the idea of having that much parkland so close for the people of this area to be able to enjoy, that's another plus in my eyes for the Colonial Downs project. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Johnson, who do we have next for speaking?
All right, good evening, members of council and ladies and gentlemen. I come before you today to express my support to expand the current Rosie's Gaming Emporium. I've lived in the Dumfries area since I graduated from Potomac High School in 2007. I'm currently one of the shift managers for Rosie's Gaming Emporium. I've witnessed firsthand both the need of the community as well as the generosity of Colonial Downs Group. At the core of our corporate philosophy, we have a commitment to lead by example. Our aim is to meaningfully improve the quality of life in the communities where our team members live and work. In 2021, Rosie's has shown their commitment to this philosophy by awarding a local charity from a community in which we operate a donation of $1,000. As part of this campaign, Rosie's has already donated to Acts of Prince William, Serve, and Keep Prince William Beautiful. The company's commitment to the town and the community in its short time in operation is well documented. I also have nephews that live locally in the area. I'm very aware of the crime rate. My nephews personally knew the child that recently had the tragic death. And I think with the public parks that Rosie's Gaming Emporium is offering, it is just what the community needs. The children in the community need something to do so that they're less likely to turn to violence and drugs. A yes vote on the expansion plan is clearly in the best interest of our town and community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, Town Council members and everyone else that's in attendance. My name's Helen Ellis Brown and I currently reside on McDowell Court in Dumfries. I've been a resident of Dumfries for over 20 years. All of my children the last 3 children graduated from Dumfries. And I do work at Dumfries. I work with the revenue audit team. And having this position in this company locally has been a major advantage to me because I am disabled and I was able to return to work after 10 years and not have to do a 2-hour commute to Reston every day. So there are definitely advantages to having this facility in the community. They've been doing a lot of good. For me, it has helped me financially. And I think it's with the parks and the facilities and the stuff that they're going to do for the community. And they do have a solid, truthful backing to be able to institute all of the things that they want to do for Dumfries. The traffic, we all know that there is traffic in Northern Virginia. I personally don't think it will be any different because everyone has to pass Dumfries to go south. They have to pass Dumfries to go north. So I don't think the fact that the casino is there is going to add more than we already have. I know that it's very difficult to move on the weekend living in Dumfries, but that has nothing to do with the casino. It's just basically people using 95 as a thoroughfare to get where they're going. So I truly think that VDOT will think through the plan and it's a yes for me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
I'm gonna let him go because he's the elder. I'm Don Yoder. I live up there in Tripoli Heights. The one gentleman is worried about the traffic. How about all the skunks and the rats and all that other stuff? You're letting the landfill run through people's homes. My wife lived there. Kids go to the bathroom, and there's a rat in the commode. Why not use that land and let Rosie's do something for the community? The thing is, where's the town going to spend the money they're giving you? Is it going for the people in Dumfries? Or is it going for people who live out of town or whatever, different locations? Let's do something for Dumfries. The senior people, I'm not gonna lie to you. Me and the wife go down there 5-6 times a week. What else is there to do? I don't wanna go out here and get a bottle of liquor and drive and kill somebody drinking. Let me go relax. You're taking a chance. You gamble. You gamble when you buy insurance. You're saying you're gonna die. They say you're gonna live. You're gambling. The gambling's not the issue. Rosie is trying to improve Dumfries. You don't have to go. You got a McDonald's and a Burger King. It's up to you where you eat. So don't give me the gambling excuse. It's up to you what you do. Let's improve Dumfries. I've been here for 45 years. And a lot of stuff they said they're going to do doesn't get done, believe me. Traffic, go out there right now without Rosie's working and see what Route 1's like at 234 and Route 1, right there at the BP station and everything. See what traffic is. It's take an hour to go anywhere to Woodbridge. Well, I got to make an appointment. What kind of retirement is that? I got to leave early to beat traffic. If I got to come home, I got to leave early to beat traffic. Let's improve Dumfries. That's what we're here for. It's the oldest town in Virginia. Let's be proud of it. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. I'm Shay Wormley. I'm the magic at Rosie's. I work in the security department at Rosie's. I've also been a resident of Dumfries for a very long time. The thing I like best about working at Rosie's is their commitment to the community and giving back. It is something they talk about a lot. No, a lot. And they encourage us to participate. The program actually is called Rosie's Give Back. As employees, which I always go to, as employees, we are encouraged to volunteer our time to the community and the company gives money. I understand that Rosie's has given more than $150,000 to local charities in Dumfries since it's opened in the beginning of the year. My coworker has told y'all a few of those. The really exciting part of the new Roses project for Dumfries is that Rosie's is going to build a fantastic recreation area for everyone in Dumfries to enjoy. I heard it will be more than 80 acres. That is a great deal of land, you guys. I love to be outside and I have to go far to be outside. When this project is built, I don't have to go far to be outside. And we could really use something like that. It'll be for the sports and whatever activities we come up with as a community. So I really hope you vote in favor of the Roses. It would be great for our community. And Roses has shown that they're a terrific supporter of the community. You guys have a good one.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Johnson. Ma'am, you can speak. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm representing my entire family, the Cornells, Mr. and Mrs. Cornell and myself. I'm quite offended. I've sat in here this evening and no one has mentioned the homes on Colonial Street itself. My family has lived in the home since 1950. When you start taking away the other homes on that street, that leaves only us, and it leaves us with that traffic that will be going into the facility. They purchased the antique shop that's at the bottom of the street. They have under contract the other house on the street. That leaves us, and again, since 1950, and my parents are elderly, and we've not heard one word from this facility talking to us or telling us about the plan of bringing in that kind of traffic. People talk about parks, talk about privacy. We currently have 3 sides of our home is completely private. That's why our family has continued to hold that house. And the details are very vague. We're going from having quietness, privacy, to now you're going to have a traffic going up and down. We will be the only home left on that street. We will have no neighbor. So I'm very displeased with this. I'm very displeased with the fact that Rosie's never approached us, or Colonial Downs, whichever name you want to use. I'm sitting here this evening hearing this for the very first time. And like I said, my parents are elderly. And I concur with the first gentleman that spoke this evening. I think this is too in haste. And I don't think anyone who stood here and spoke this evening would want to be left as the only home on the street and have no neighbors and have this type of upheaval done to them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Johnson, do we have anyone else slated to speak?
Good evening. My name is Pete Singh. I'm a local person here who very often comes to council meetings like these. And I like to share my thoughts on what's happening. In conclusion, I can say, is this project compliant to our years and years of work, which our wonderful staff did, and over the last year, compiled into what we now call our comprehensive plan? I'd like you to look at that and see the tick marks, how positive this particular project is when you tick mark it. That's my conclusion. But before I leave this beautiful podium, I'm going to tell you more about what has happened around me here in Dumfries for the last many years. And I'm going to take you, gentlemen, back to when Mayor Jerry Foreman was here. My son came over and took a summer internship job. And the next day he comes to home, and these kids were so cool in doing this thing called Google. He comes home and says, "Dad, why did I get him introduced to Mr. Jerry Foreman for this internship job? Dumfries has a landfill, and the landfill is a nightmare. I'll get killed." Because at that time, if some of you may remember, there used to be this stinking smell coming out of the landfill. And guess what? With your good guidance and the today's staff we have, those things have improved. And in future, they will improve a lot. And I look forward to that improvement. And part of that improvement is the funds, let's first call it funds, which Colonial Downs have invested in the town. Let's take a minute. A year and a half to 2 years ago, I was here saying, "Hey, what is this Colonial Downs? They're running horses." Then I realized that this is a company which has the background and the knowledge base to nurture a community like Dumfries. They built this place up in Triangle Plaza, and then they investigated other opportunities. Well, they're leveraging on these trends. It's our responsibility to nurture somebody like that, to bring it forward. Let me frankly say, the gentlemen who have spoken here many times, if they find the word IBM or Google, oh, they will say, love to have them here. Well, Colonial Downs has their business. And we, as the residents of Dumfries, should welcome new business. When did we last see any business come to Dumfries? I'm asking everyone, even if the audio is on, let's think back. Here is an opportunity. And now, furthermore, we have qualified staff. A lot of people have emphasized that is the traffic study correct? Or is this correct or that correct? We have, not we, the town of Dumfries has qualified staff to support your decision-making process. And I'm sure with today's technology, they all will do the best. Over the last 10 years, I've seen Dumfries grow. There's no doubt about it. And a major initiative which our town council took over the last 24 months is to raise the 90 million to expand Route 1. That didn't come through the previous administration or the current administration from the White House. That was an initiative which we all supported and made it happen. And I strongly urge the council members of the Planning Commission to think back and see what will this decision do. Yes, you will continue to get pressure. Don't build it. At the same time, there may be some nice favorable guys who have looked at what has Colonial Downs done over the last year. Did they keep their promises? Did they hire the people they're talking about? Did they give back to the community? And furthermore, did they build a quality product or it was another parking lot? And I strongly believe that they kept their promise. Now it is up to the town staff to give the right direction as what are the expectations of the town. Yes, some of my friends here have spoken about traffic. Guess what? I'm also trying to build my retirement home in Dumfries. And Chad is doing an excellent job in trying to tell me that, hey, this is what you should be building in Dumfries, and where, and when, and how.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt you, but you're approaching the end of your time. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the reminder. I'll just come to the conclusion. Have trust in your team, your support team, which is staff, because they have roses behind them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Johnson, do we have anyone else? All right. Does anyone else want to speak, offer any testimony before we offer a rebuttal for the applicant? No other speakers? For the applicant, you heard the resident comments. Would you like to rebuttal for anything that you've heard? Offer a rebuttal?
Sure, thank you. I'll do my best. There was mention of the historic house along Colonial Street being torn down. That actually is owned by Prince William County, and Prince William County is not agreeing to touch that property whatsoever. So we actually have a waiver and we're working around it. So we're not touching that historic house at all. In terms of the garage, the gentleman said that it was sort of used as a buffer against the neighborhood to the west, to the east. It should be noted that a year ago when we came in with the project, the garage was originally oriented north-south along I-95. And it was actually the town staff who asked us to reposition the garage so that it was where it is currently shown, and asked us to do that so that it would serve as a buffer between the sort of larger hotel structure and the communities to the east. And that's why it looks the way that it does today. We took the time to really redesign the entire development site based on that staff request. So I want to say that. In terms of the timing, someone had said that we were supposed to go in June and we had a meeting that we didn't attend. We were planning on going to the town council meeting in June, but we didn't because we were still working with VDOT on the traffic impact analysis. And it was VDOT, you know, they worked us hard and they wanted to make sure they got it right. And Chad went through several iterations with them, you know, he would turn in his comments and they would respond in 45 days. And we had discussions and I was part of them. And frankly, we weren't ready to come to town council for a vote in June. And it's a good thing that we didn't, because the transportation package that we had proposed, we would have proposed then, is not the comprehensive package that we're proposing today. And the package that we're proposing today is, I mean, it is a robust package of improvements that VDOT says adequately mitigates the impacts of our development. And that's not easy to get from VDOT, I will say that. I do think that the park is going to be a huge amenity for everyone. I would like you to focus on the fact that it is 80.5 acres that we are going to be building in partnership with you, with the community. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to know what you want to see there. And then we're going to be giving it to you in 10 years. We're going to be giving it to the town. And that's at our cost. So please look at this as us really doing something good for Dumfries, both in bringing sort of development and bringing revenue and bringing jobs, but also bringing the park and enlivening this whole area, which is now a dump. This is a good thing for Dumfries. It really is. Thank you.
Thank you. Closing staff comments? No comments? All right. Closure of the public hearing with no other comments from citizens. I want to close the closure of the public hearing. Do I have a motion for closure?
I'll make the motion for closure.
A second?
I'll second.
As far as the votes for the closure, Commissioner Nias?
Approve.
Commissioner Nicholson?
Approved.
Commissioner Beisel?
Approved.
Commissioner Borka?
Approved.
And I approve 5-0. The public hearing is closed. And for the vote for the public hearing for rezoning conditional use, do we have a motion to bring that to vote?
I motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
For the vote, Commissioner Nias?
Approve.
Commissioner Beisel?
Approve.
Commissioner Borka?
Approve.
Commissioner Nicholson?
Approved.
And for myself, I do approve as well. So for open forum for the commissioners, give you an opportunity to speak. Commissioner Nias, any comments?
Yes, actually, I listened to everybody present tonight, and I thank you very much for each of you guys come over here and tell us what you feel, how you feel. Okay, the project is for sure a great project for Dumfries. I'm sorry, there's some people get hurt, and I hope when your guys doing the project planning and details, VDOT needs to talk about people's not comfort, something has problem. I want you to pay attention to the people not happy with this project. It's very important to let every citizens be comfortable, okay? And the citizens it's very good, of course, to develop and everything, but on the meanwhile, it's always some of the citizens and families will get hurt. It's very common and it's normal, but we cannot ignore it. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nias. Commissioner Borka, any comments?
I'll keep them brief. I would echo the comments, thanking everyone to come tonight and those that spoke. I also took notes. I've spent a great deal of time reading the documentation, including the 1,000-page document that just came out, which was long but interesting. This is a good project. I believe it's good for Dumfries. I do believe great care needs to be taken in the future planning to ensure that the citizens that have concerns are addressed, whether it be water mitigation or where people's homes are, because we live here. This is our home and it's going to stay our home.
Thank you, Commissioner Borka. Commissioner Beisel, any comments?
Well, again, thank you for everybody for speaking tonight. My only thought of twice I heard that there would be a 10-year maintenance program and just would hope that that would begin when the project is finalized and if 10 years is set in stone, that it's not starting upon approval of the project, but when it's actually completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Beisel. Commissioner Nickerson, comments?
Yes, I want to thank everyone for coming out and speaking tonight as well. I have a couple of things. First, I've been in construction for all my working life, which has been 38 years. And I do understand the applicant's part about the site plans, things coming to fruition once the site plans become more developed in detail. You don't develop full site plans until you know you have an approved project anyway. So a lot of those details that people are expecting to see won't happen until this project is approved. That's one. Two, I said this before months ago, and I'm gonna repeat it because it's very important. Yes, some people don't like this project, but if you look south of us and you look north of us, and you don't even have to go that far, everything around us has developed. What do you think is gonna happen to Dumfries if we don't develop and move with everything else? We're gonna be consumed. So for all those that are opposing this project, I ask you, where's the money coming from to sustain Dumfries and move Dumfries forward? We got a applicant that is trying to start something that's going to continue economic growth for our community. And that's not just going to benefit me or the man next to me or anybody. That's going to benefit everyone that lives within the town. It's also going to benefit those who don't live within the town. So in my opinion, this is a good thing for Dumfries. Yeah, I'm a professional electrician. That's all. I claim to be a master electrician because that's what I am. But you have people who are professionals at what they do. You have people who are professionals at surveying traffic, at storm management. We need to let those professionals be those professionals and give us the right information. All we can do is speculate. We can speculate about what we think the traffic's gonna be like, but we don't know that until it actually happens, until these roads get developed, until these plans are detailed and finalized. We don't know what we're gonna be up against. But one thing I do know, we don't have people knocking down our door trying to give us an opportunity to grow, which is entail will also bring other businesses to this area and give Dumfries a chance to really be a place that people want to come visit. I, for one, looking forward to it. So I would just say, I understand any project is going to have its good and bad, and you're going to have people that are for it, and you're going to have people that are against it. But I feel like it's detrimental to the survival of Dumfries if we let this opportunity go, because we may not ever see someone come through with this magnitude and give us what they're trying to give us. And then also, as far as the casino goes, that's only one aspect of it. That's the majority of the comments I hear from people is talking about the casino. We have not one fine dining establishment in the town of Dumfries. You don't want to gamble? Fine. I'm not a gambler, but I like to eat. So I'm looking forward to restaurants. You know, we don't have these parks for our kids to go to in the town of Dumfries. Do you know if they develop that land, now Dumfries has the opportunity to host tournaments, soccer, baseball, you know, whatever we decide that we want them to, and they will listen. In that developed area, we have an opportunity to bring Dumfries to the forefront. So don't just look at the casino aspect of it. Look at everything else that's involved with this project. Look at the jobs that are being created with this project. Look at just the growth in general. That's my comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Nickerson. No comments from me. I pretty much echo the sentiments of the other commissioners. So bring up a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do you have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Ms. Borka, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Beisel. For a vote, Commissioner Nickerson? Approved. Commissioner Nias?
Approve.
Commissioner Beisel?
Approve.
Commissioner Borka?
Approve.
I approve. The meeting will be adjourned at 8:16 p.m. Thank you all.